Do you know the difference between type 1 and type 2 errors? This is one of the biggest reasons why people are having difficulty moving from search to generative AI. The main way that we've been accessing information for the last couple of decades has been using search, so mainly things like Google. We are now moving into a new paradigm of how we access information. We're now moving into a new paradigm of how we access the world's information. We're moving from search over towards generative AI. This table up here shows one of the major reasons why some people find this transition difficult. There are two types of error when it comes to accessing or finding information. Let's use a very basic business example. Let's say I'm setting up a new business and I want to work out the market size. So it's a new fidget spinning business and I want to find out how many fidget spinners are sold in the UK each and every year. When we search for information using something like Google, we are used to things like type 2 errors. A type 2 error is a false negative. So this is when we are told there is no answer when there is actually an answer. So in the case of we're trying to look up some market data, Google is unable to find that information. That does not necessarily mean that that information does not exist. We're kind of used to this on Google though. We will just refine how we search or we'll go and look elsewhere. This is something we've implicitly been trained to do, that even if we can't find that particular information on Google, we don't assume that it doesn't exist. For this reason, we are able to work with false negatives. We understand that they exist. What's happening with generative AI, though, is this type 1 error, the false positive. Generative AIs, especially popular ones like ChatGPT, will often just make up information in order to be agreeable and to help us out. That is a type 1 error, a false positive. We're being told that there is information, we're being given that information, but it is incorrect. Google won't do this because if the information doesn't exist, Google cannot serve that information to you. Whereas a generative AI will always try to make you happy, and if you've asked for a certain piece of information and it doesn't have it, it will tend to make it up. This is a subtle but really important distinction and why a lot of people might come away from using AI feeling cheated. We can deal with this type 2 false negative error, but we cannot deal with this type 1 false positive. We prefer not to be given information rather than to be given false information. And when ChatGPT or another AI gives us that false information, we feel cheated and that the tool is useless and it would never be helpful. So there are models like the recent Mistral Large 2, which have been taught not to give away false positive information. And hopefully that's going to become the norm moving forward, because otherwise it's going to be really hard for people to trust AIs. If you have to spend the same amount of time fact-checking your AI results as you do actually generating results, then what's the point? So this whole thing is going to require a big shift in how we access information, and we're going to have to get just as used to dealing with false positives as we are currently with false negatives.